English and Life Lessons. The Unbelievable Story of J.K. Rowling. Language is one of the most powerful tools we have to connect with others, and one of the most essential ways we learn it is through listening. Listening is more than just hearing words, it's the act of absorbing information, understanding emotions, and connecting with the world around us. As we listen, we pick up the rhythms and nuances of language, gaining insights that we wouldn't get from simply reading or speaking alone. Whether we're learning a new language, growing in our careers, or simply trying to understand others better, listening is the key to unlocking deeper knowledge. Today, we'll delve into the unbelievable story of J.K. Rowling, one of the world's most famous authors whose life and work show us how listening to our own creativity and to the world around us can shape our futures. As we follow her journey from humble beginnings to global success, we'll see how her ability to listen carefully to both her inner voice and the world shaped her into the writer we know today. J.K. Rowling was born on July 31, 1965, in Yate, Gloucestershire, England. From a young age, she loved to read and write, but it wasn't always an easy road for her. Rowling's early years were marked by challenges. Her family moved frequently during her childhood, and when she was just 25 years old, she faced a tragedy that would shape much of her future: the death of her mother, Anne, after a long battle with multiple sclerosis. The loss of her mother was a pivotal moment in her life, one that would not only impact her writing but also her understanding of the world and her ability to relate to others. This early experience with grief taught Rowling an important lesson: the power of listening to people's stories and emotions. At the time, she didn't know how deeply the pain of her loss would influence her future work. However, looking back, she has often pointed to this difficult time as one that allowed her to understand pain, loss, and hope, emotionally complex themes that would later form the foundation of her writing. Though Rowling had a passion for writing, she initially pursued a degree in French at the University of Exeter. She enjoyed languages, and her ability to understand and communicate in French would later influence her writing style. But the story of how she became a writer didn't start with her degree. It began with her ability to listen first to the world around her, and then to the inner voice that pushed her towards storytelling. After graduating, Rowling worked in various jobs, including a position at Amnesty International. While working there, she was surrounded by people from all walks of life, each with their own experiences and stories. Rowling listened carefully to the people she met, which would later inform her writing. In particular, her role at Amnesty International opened her eyes to the struggles and injustices of the world, leading her to appreciate the power of language in bringing about change. At this point, Rowling's journey was just beginning, but listening was already at the core of how she viewed the world. As a writer, she was able to tap into the emotions and struggles of those she met, translating them into the characters and themes of her stories. It was through listening to the lives of others that she began to develop her unique perspective on human nature, which would come to define the Harry Potter series. The idea for Harry Potter came to Rowling during a train journey from Manchester to London in 1990. The story of a young boy who discovers he is a wizard just popped into her head, and it was as though the entire world of Hogwarts, with all its characters and magical details, suddenly existed in her mind. But here's an important detail: it wasn't just a fleeting idea. It was the product of a lifetime of listening. Rowling listened to her own imagination, to the ideas that flowed through her mind during that train ride. She wasn't distracted by doubt or fear. She allowed herself to absorb the creative energy that was already there. This is the power of listening to your inner voice, the ability to recognize when something is important and worth pursuing. However, even after coming up with the idea for Harry Potter, Rowling faced one of the hardest parts of any writer's journey: rejection. For years, she struggled to get her manuscript published, facing rejection from multiple publishers who didn't believe in her story. But Rowling didn't give up. She listened to her own determination, her belief in the story she had created, and she continued to revise, refine, and submit her work. Her persistence paid off in 1997 when Harry Potter and the Philosopher's Stone was accepted by Bloomsbury Publishing. At first, the book didn't sell well. It was only after word of mouth spread among readers, especially children, that Harry Potter began to find its audience. But what made the series stand out? Why did people connect so deeply with the world of Hogwarts, the magical creatures, and the complex relationships between characters? It wasn't just the magical elements or the action, it was the emotional depth of the story. J.K. Rowling had listened carefully to her own experiences with loss, love, and friendship, and these themes were woven into her characters. Harry, Hermione, and Ron were more than just students at a magical school. They were representations of universal struggles, the search for identity, the challenge of facing fears, and the importance of friendship. Readers could relate to these characters because they were grounded in real human emotions, despite the fantastical world they lived in. It's also worth noting that Rowling's ability to listen to the feedback of her readers played a role in the success of the series. She was attentive to what resonated with her audience and made sure her stories reflected universal truths about life. This willingness to listen to both her readers and herself allowed her to create a world that felt real, even though it was set in a magical universe. But Rowling's journey wasn't just about writing books. It was about building a global community. As Harry Potter grew in popularity, the books were translated into over 80 languages, making Rowling's work accessible to people all over the world. This shows us another important lesson about language. When we learn to listen to others, when we truly hear their voices and understand their experiences, we open ourselves to new perspectives and create connections that go beyond borders. Rowling's story isn't just one of literary success, it's one of personal growth and resilience. She learned that listening, whether to the world around her, the people she encountered, or the creative spark inside her, was essential to her success. It allowed her to grow as both a writer and a person, overcoming obstacles and finding her voice in the process. For those of us learning English or any other language, Rowling's story offers valuable lessons. Just as she listened to her characters, we must listen to the language we're trying to learn. Listening helps us absorb new vocabulary, understand grammar in context, and pick up on the nuances of tone and expression. But it's not just about language, it's about using listening to connect with others, to understand their perspectives, and to grow in our own understanding of the world. J.K. Rowling's story reminds us that language is not just a set of words, it is a bridge that connects us to the hearts and minds of others. Whether we are reading, writing, speaking, or listening, language has the power to bring us together, help us understand one another, and ultimately change the world. By listening to the stories of others and to our own inner voices, we can all find the inspiration we need to create, to learn, and to grow. So, as you continue on your journey of learning English or any language, remember the power of listening. Listen to the world around you, listen to others, and, most importantly, listen to yourself. In doing so, you will unlock the true potential of language, just as J.K. Rowling did in her own remarkable journey from a struggling writer to a global literary icon.